Hello everyone, my name is Charlene, welcome to my channel, and today I'll be doing a video about what's on my TBR shelf. Spoiler alert, there's a lot, so maybe grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee and we're gonna get digging into this. So I have a lot of books on my TBR shelf. I get bought a lot of books, I buy myself a lot of books. If I'm out and about on a day out and I see a book that I want to buy, I'll just be like, oh, one won't hurt. Do you know what I mean? And now I've got a whole shelf of just too much. So these are the books that's on my TBR shelf and that I need to hopefully finish reading within 2024. I don't know if that's doable or not, but we'll see. I'll do what I can. So the first books on my TBR shelf are the rest of the series of the Sarah J. Maas A Court of Thorns and Roses, kind of, you know, that series books. I've read A Court of Thorns and Roses. If you haven't seen the video where I talk about what books I've read so far in 2024, I'll link that in the description below. But I only read the first one and I read that fairly recently, so I've got the rest of these bad boys to go. And I'm mega excited to read them all, but I'm also a bit scared because why are some of them so big, especially A Court of Silver Flames? Why does it need to be this big? I have no idea, but I know I really enjoyed A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, and I know how much everyone loves these series, so I'm super excited to get cracking on these, and hopefully that'll be sometime soon. So like I said, there are quite a lot of books on my TBR shelf, so I've tried to arrange them into some kind of categories so that it will make sense when I'm blathering on about the books that I've got to read. But there's a couple that I couldn't really fit into a particular kind of category. So starting with, and bear with me while I try my best to pronounce this, The Silmarillion from J.R.R. Tolkien. So if you didn't see my last video, that was actually a unboxing video of a book mystery box, and I absolutely loved the box. So if you haven't watched that, again, I'll link it in the description below, go and watch that. But this is the book that I got in my mystery box, and I am super excited about this one because I love a fantasy book, and also my husband is a huge Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit fan. He loves the books, he's got them multiple times in different collections, and he loves the films as well. So I feel like this is going to be perfect to delve into, and that obviously he'll be able to explain a little bit more about the whole world to me. When I was given this book in my mystery box, it did actually come with a note. I think I've kept it. Yeah, I have. It came with a note saying that although the book is part of the Lord of the Rings world, it has actually been written to be able to be read on its own, if that makes sense. So hopefully I'll be able to read this and completely understand what's going on. I know that I'm in for a wild ride here, and lots of characters, because I had a quick flick through when I got it, and at the back of the book there is a whole kind of, I don't know if you'd call it a family tree, but also a character index. So I know that this is going to be super involved, and there's also maps there, look. So I think this is going to be a book that I can completely get lost in and escape in. So this is probably going to be one that I'm not going to read like immediately, but this is going to be one where I feel like I really need to escape into something. This will be the one that I'll pick up. The next book that I've got that I didn't really know what category to be able to arrange this into is Braiding Sweetgrass. This book was actually, we saw this, me and my husband, on Books Are Sick YouTube. We love him and we love his page, and he said that his wife, this is one of her, I think it was top 5 books of all time, something like that, but she absolutely loved it. And I am super excited to read this book because the back, you know, the blurb is everything that I'm interested in. I'm very much into holistic and natural medicine and alternative lifestyles and things like that. So this sounds very interesting to me. So it says indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teachings of plants. I'm very much, like I said, into like herbalism, and I take lots of herbal supplements and things like that. So I'm very interested to read this. If anyone has read it, please let me know what you think, and if it's kind of enlightened you and kind of given you a lot of information, because this again, yeah, something that I'm really looking forward to delving into, but I think I need to do this when I've got a little bit, it seems like quite involved. I find like non-fiction books, you have to read it when you've not got too much else going on mentally, if that makes sense, because you need to really kind of dig in and focus on it, whereas with like a fiction book you kind of use that as an escape. So I think I will pick this up when I'm feeling like my mind's pretty rested. So the next section of books I've got, the next category of books is cozy books. And the books that I've got on my TBR shelf for this section, I am all of them very much looking forward to reading. Starting with the classic Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. I say classic, I've not read it yet, but I've heard so much about this. This seems like a book that you can curl up and read. It's a fairly short book, so you can probably get this read within like a weekend, or you know, like a long weekend, something like that. 169 pages. So, oh, by the way, I am a slow reader. If you haven't watched any of my previous videos, I explain about how I'm quite a slow reader, and I'm not going to be, you know, one of those booktubers that gets through like a book a day or anything like that. So for me, this would probably be a good weekend book. When I like, maybe when the weather's feeling cold outside and I kind of want to wrap up in a blanket with a cup of tea, stick on a candle and read this. So Days at the Morisaki Bookshop is an international bestseller, translated, and it says it's a tale of families, love, new beginnings and the comfort that can be found in books, which, I mean, that just sounds so lovely to me. So yes, please let me know if you've read this, what you think. I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. The next book within that same category is What You Are Looking For Is in the Library. So this is another cozy book that I really can't wait to dig into. This is a New York Times bestseller, a Japanese bestseller, and a Times bestseller, shortlisted for the Japan Booksellers Award. Yeah, and it doesn't really say much about it in the blurb. It just says library. What a nice sounding word. So comforting. I feel like I'm a student again. Library. Am I allowed to borrow books? So I think, yeah, this is again quite a short book. Let me just see how many pages. 246. Maybe 247 slightly. But yeah, this is another short read. So something that I think, books like this, I'm going to try and read in between either longer or heavier books. I feel like I'm not the kind of person that can just sit and read an entire series in one go and not take a break. Like with the Sarah J Maas A Court of Thorns and Roses series, I'm really going to have to kind of break those books up because they're quite chunky and quite long. So for me, read something like that, have a book like this to break it up in the middle, you know, quite a short book, a little palette cleanser almost. So yeah, I think that's when I will reach for something like this. And the last book within that same category is Abroad in Japan. So this is a #1 bestseller. It says 10 Years in the Land of the Rising Sun. And I know it shouldn't matter, but look at how beautiful that cover is. I just absolutely love it. But I've seen that this has become, I think, a YouTube series as well. From obviously the guy who wrote it, Chris Broad. This is a non-fiction book from what I know. And this is basically the story of an Englishman, Chris Broad, moving to a rural village in northern Japan and just talking about his life there and all the cultural differences, all of the life lessons and things that he learned along his way. I think it's meant to be quite moving but also quite funny. So I really am, I know I said this for every book so far, but I really am looking forward to reading this. I'm absolutely desperate to go to Japan as well, so I think maybe I'll be able to get a little bit of inspo here. Pages wise, we're at 298. So again, this is a book that's not too long. I'll probably pick this up in between other long or heavy books, and I have a feeling that I'm going to love this, and this might be one that I'm reaching for over and over again. If you've read it, let me know, and you know, don't give anything away obviously, but let me know what you think. Next section, I don't know what to call this, but like emotional might break my heart section. These are the books within that section. So the first one is Crying in H Mart, and this is another recommendation that we picked up from the Books Are Sick YouTube channel. He did recommend this book and he said that it was very emotional, kind of stirred up a lot of emotions within him. I think maybe even made him cry, I'm not sure. But yeah, this is called Crying in H Mart. On the front, it says, heartbreaking, will have you in tears, deeply necessary and fascinating. So I think this is going to have to be one that I'm going to have to pick up when I'm feeling a little bit more emotionally stable. My emotions run all over the place, and I am that person that like cries at every advert on TV. I cry if there's a sad song on. I cry at everything. So I'm going to have to read this when there's not too much going on in my head and when I'm feeling a bit more emotionally secure. Another quite a short, I say short, maybe quite average actually, length, 239 pages. This says a book of the year in the Financial Times, Sunday Times, Stylist, New York Times, Washington Post, Time and the Times of India, and on pitchfork.com and vulture.com. So it's obviously got a lot of very good reviews and potentially awards as well. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to reading this. I actually don't know too much about it other than what I've heard from the Books Are Sick YouTube channel, but I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have to do it when I'm feeling a little bit more zen. And within that same category, I think I may as well put these books together, but I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. And I Want to Die, but I Still Want to Eat Tteokbokki. So I've not read either of these books. I bought this one first, because this is the first one, and then I bought this one because I saw on Waterstones that this is a special edition, an exclusive edition exclusively to Waterstones. So if you're watching outside of the UK, I don't know if you have Waterstones or not. Basically, Waterstones is a bookshop like Barnes and Noble or something like that. But this was a special exclusive edition to Waterstones, and it's really very beautiful. It's this obviously amazing cover, hardback, but it's also got these coloured edges, and I think these are chopsticks along the side. So yeah, that looks very, very beautiful. Like I said, I haven't read either of them, but I think that it's a series that I'm gonna love. This, from what I can understand, is a lot about mental health, and you know, a lot of, I think the main character is a woman. Potentially it's got a lot to do with like women's issues and emotions and things like that. Really looking forward to reading both of these. Again, this is going to have to be another one I think that I'm going to have to be feeling a little bit more emotionally stable for. But yeah, I'm very excited to read these, and I think the topic of mental health is super important as well. So I think these are going to be quite important reads. If you have read them, let me know what you think. Don't give anything away, but let me know what you think. But yes, very much looking forward to this. My next section is thrillers. I don't know if these all class necessarily as thrillers, but in that kind of like creepy, mysterious genre, which is typically speaking the genre that I'm most familiar with. Obviously I didn't say, but the Sarah J Maas ones are within like the more kind of fantasy realm. So yes, I tend to stick very much within the thriller genre, although up until this year I've tried to read a lot more different kind of genres so far. Again, I did do a video of what I've read so far in 2024, and there's a whole lot of different types of books and different genres, so have a watch of that if you haven't watched it already, so you can kind of get up to speed with what I've read so far this year. But these are the like I said, the category, the thriller category. So the first one within that category is The Escape Room. So this, my husband went to Sainsbury's to get some shopping, and he picked this up and he said he thought I'd love it. On the front here it says perfect for fans of The Traitors, and I absolutely love that show. If you don't like that, are you okay? What's wrong with you? But I think this sounds really good. It says I'm a Celebrity meets Lord of the Flies, and it says everything is a clue. Bonnie arrives on a remote seafort of the coast of England to take part in a mysterious reality TV show. Competing against 7 strangers, she must solve a series of puzzles to win the prize money. No one can leave. It doesn't take long for the contestants to turn on one another. Who will sacrifice the most for wealth and fame? And why can't Bonnie shake the creeping sense that they are not alone? The only way out is to win. When the first person is found dead, the others begin to panic because there's a killer with them inside the fort, and anyone could be next. If Bonnie wants to escape, she needs to win. So that sounds like something I would absolutely devour and read it pretty quickly. I love things like this. I love a whodunit. I love a thriller. I love a mystery. Yeah, so this is a bit longer. This is 402 pages. Yeah, this is the type of book that I can pick up whenever. I love things like this. And I think it's also fairly new. So yeah, very much looking forward to reading this one. Next within that same category is Killers of the Flower Moon. Now I know that this is a non-fiction book. This says a riveting true story of greed, serial murder and racial injustice. It says oil, money, murder and the birth of the FBI. Now this is a Sunday Times bestseller and it's also recently been made into a film starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Haven't seen it, so I don't know much about it. I've obviously seen the trailers, but that's about it. And it just says an extraordinary story with extraordinary pace and atmosphere, Sunday Times. It basically says Osage County, Oklahoma in the 1920s was where the richest people per capita in the world were to be found, the reason oil. After oil was discovered beneath their land, the Osage Indians had untold wealth, then one by one they began to be killed off. The family of an Osage woman, Molly Burkhart, became a prime target, her relatives shot or poisoned, and as the death toll climbed, the FBI took up the case and began to expose one of the most chilling conspiracies in American history. That sounds really interesting. This is based on years of research and startling new evidence. This is a masterpiece of narrative non-fiction, as each step in the investigation reveals a series of sinister secrets and reversals. Killers of the Flower Moon is utterly compelling but also emotionally devastating. Oh no, maybe I should have put this within my category of might destroy my emotions and make me cry. But this sounds really interesting. Another one that I think is going to be quite an important read. I think it is important to sometimes read books that are a little bit harder to read but teach you something and are, you know, historically important. So yeah, looking forward to this one. This might have to be sandwiched in between cozy reading books and easy reading books. But yeah, really looking forward to kind of learning a bit about that story. Next in that category is The Cloisters. And I'm not going to lie, I picked up this book because I thought the cover was beautiful. And I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover and all that, but look at it. It's a stunner. I was in WH Smith's and I was there to buy a new book. I don't know why, I've got all these other books that I need to read, but I wanted to buy a new book and I saw this cover and I was like, oh, that's the one. She's coming home with me. So this is, again, is a Sunday Times bestseller. And it says, if death was in the cards, would you want to know? I'm not going to read all of the blurb because it's quite lengthy, but what I have read of the blurb so far, it's basically about somebody starting work in the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they want to do one thing but they have to do another, and then they discover some Italian tarot cards and everything gets out of control, and it's very interesting book to do with relationships, friendships, things spiraling out of control, the tale of obsession and the ruthless pursuit of power. So this sounds very, very up my street. The cover is stunning. Can you see all that foiling? Pages wise, I think it's another quite lengthy one. And when I say lengthy, I mean for me as a slow reader, 387. And also, having just flicked through to find the page numbers, I've seen that there's a little guide to reading tarot, which is really cool. I'm really interested in things like that. You probably realised that about me from when I was banging on about how much I love like holistic and natural things. Like I'm very much interested in like, I don't know, slightly like alternative things like this. So yeah, another one that I'm very much looking forward to reading. And I think this might be fairly soon up on my list of what I'm going to read next. Next within this category, and I can't believe I haven't read this yet, but it's Yellowface, and this has been everywhere. This has been kind of like all over social media and TikTok and BookTube, all of that. This was, I think a few months ago, really kind of like doing the rounds, like everybody was reading this book, and I picked it up then, but because for one reason or another I was just reading other books at the time, I never actually got round to reading it. But we found this version which has got the yellow edges. I think again this one was in Sainsbury's, which is, if you're not from the UK, it's basically a supermarket like a Walmart or a Tesco or something like that. And yeah, this is a #1 global sensation. So this, I'm sure, like if you're watching this book and you're watching this video and you're interested in books, you would have heard about this book before. But if not, let me just read the quick blurb to you. It says, this is one hell of a story, it's just not hers to tell. When failed writer June Hayward witnesses her rival Athena Louis Lou die in a freak accident, she sees her opportunity and takes it. So what if it means stealing Athena's final manuscript? So what if it means borrowing her identity? And so what if the first lie is only the beginning? Finally, June has the fame she's always deserved, but someone is about to expose her. What happens next is entirely everyone else's fault. There's a testimony from Stephen King on the back. Hard to put down, harder to forget. So that's Stephen King saying that. So I'm really, really looking forward to reading this one. And again, I think this might be one that's like sooner up my reading list. I am currently 60 pages from finishing the book that I'm currently reading. And then in about 3.5 weeks, we're off to Center Parcs for the week on a little reading holiday. And so I wanted to take a couple of new books with me. So I'm going to have to decide which ones to take. If you have any recommendations for sitting in the forest and having like a cozy book reading week, please let me know. Or if any of these books that I've put so far on my TBR list, you think, oh, I've read that and that'll be great to read in that kind of scenario, let me know. But yeah, this may be a contender, not quite sure, might be. 2 more to go, we're on the home straight. So the next one is The Silence Factory. And I've never heard, this is a hardback, I've never heard anyone say anything about this book. I have not bought it through recommendations or because of Book Talk or anything like that. This is another book that I saw in Waterstones and I was on the lookout for a book at the time and the cover just grabbed me. Again, I know that you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but I just found it really interesting. So when I went over and kind of read the blurb, I think it's inside the front cover, yeah. When I read the blurb, I thought that this sounded really interesting. I don't know very much about it, and like I said, I haven't really heard anyone talk about it. But yeah, The Silence Factory, the #1 best-selling author. From what I can understand, this is kind of set kind of further back in time, and it's, yeah, well, a world without the clattering of carriages through cobble streets, the distant cries of drunken brawls, the relentless ticking of the clock. This is something to do with time, I think, and the gift of time. I don't know, I could be completely wrong, but this, at the time when I read the blurb, which I won't bore you with right now, seemed really interesting. And I also think the details in the book look super interesting as well. Like I said, I've really not heard much about it, so if you have read it, please let me know. Don't give anything away, but let me know like what you thought. Is it a good read? Should I prioritise it or not? And the last book on my TBR shelf, at the moment, that could well change, is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Now, this has again been everywhere. This is also a signed copy, which is really exciting. This has been everywhere. I think most of her books have been everywhere at the moment, but this is like the classic me kind of book, like a really good crime thriller. So this one says Her Lies Could Kill You. Again, I don't know very much about it. It just says 2 women, 2 stories, which one do you trust? And having read the blurb on the inside cover, it's got something to do with a podcast, which I love a good podcast. And also I'm completely obsessed with the TV show Only Murders in the Building, and that's about a kind of crime murder podcast. So as soon as I heard about this or saw this, I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna love this. This is a proper chonker of a book, a hardcover. How many pages are we at? Hold on, let me just check. Oh, okay, not too bad. 386 pages. But yeah, maybe this is a contender for a week in the forest in a little cabin. I don't know. Maybe that would be a bit scary. But yes, this is the last one on my TBR shelf for now. That could well change soon. So those are the books on my TBR shelf for now. Like I said, that could very well change. And if you're watching this video, I'm sure that you love books too, and you're probably just like me and you're buying them all the time whenever you see something that you think you might like, or you hear a recommendation that you think you might like. Please let me know if there's something that you think I should buy and add to my TBR shelf. I've also got a Kindle, so I can download what's it called, samples of books, which I quite like doing as well. I've got, like I keep saying, I've got like a week coming up in a few weeks where we're off for a little reading break. So we're going to Center Parcs, which is, if you're not from the UK, it's basically like, how would I describe Center Parcs? Basically you book cabins that are in the forest, and they're like surrounded by trees, and then you rent bikes, and it's just very outdoorsy, and you're in this little cozy cabin So I think for that kind of holiday, I'm going to take a couple of books with me, and I want to spend as much time as I can chilling and reading. I'm going to just take so much cozy stuff and have the most chilled time ever. Me and my husband are going. And I really want to plan to take a couple of books with me. I know it sounds like there'll be half of the people watching this might be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, take that. And then half the people will be like, why would you choose that? But I was thinking, because I will be in the forest and it will be all like hoa hoa hoa, you know I'm going with this, I might take the Twilight book. I love the Twilight film series, and I love it in a way of like, I know it's not brilliant, but I love it for that exact reason. I think it's so great. And I love like the vibe of it. I love like the kind of like dull lighting in the forest and the kind of cozy vibe that it gives you. And so I thought for a week in the forest to take that book, which I've never read before, like I said, I've only watched the films, would be perfect. I do also want to take another more serious book, probably, something that I can really get involved with. I was wondering about taking a Stephen King. Potentially Misery has been recommended to me, but I'm not sure if that might be a bit scary or not. I don't know. It's all up in the air what I'm going to take at the moment, but if you've got any recommendations that you think will be good, please do let me know. Thank you for watching this video and for listening to me blabber on about my TBR shelf. If you have any recommendations whatsoever for books that you love, let me know. If you've got any reviews on the books that I've listed on this video, let me know, but don't give me any spoilers, please. Just let me know kind of what you thought, and if you know, if there's one that you think, oh my god, that's amazing, you need to prioritize that, let me know. And yeah, just comment, give me a comment. I'd love to chat with all of you. I need more book friends, so that would be good. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like this video. That would be very lovely. And yeah, I'll leave it here for now, and I will check back in with you probably next week. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.